the official Aubrey Edwards, the referee assigned to this AEW World Championship match. You saw her holding up that title. Le Champion, Chris Jericho, and Jon Moxley. The Inner Circle, led by Chris Jericho. The reason that Jon Moxley is gonna be a little bit blind heading into this match, well, at least halfway, being that there's the eye patch covering his right eye. Moxley tried to return the favor, which is why Chris Jericho has a cut over his eye. Moxley sending Jericho to the outside onto the floor. Moxley's just been itching and waiting to finally get his hands on Chris Jericho. Moxley sending Jericho over the guardrail. Santana and Ortiz getting in the face of Jon Moxley. What was that? Oh, water. Jericho took water from a fan and just sent it in the face of Moxley. The problem is Moxley is already blind in one eye. He's doing this visually impaired. So Moxley, being at the disadvantage he is, he's got to be very careful in this title match. They are far away from the ring, which this is where danger truly happens. It doesn't happen inside the ring. The danger happens when there are all kinds of objects that can be used. There's concrete, steel, there's fans. Anything is around and can and will be used. However, the thing about Jon Moxley is he is very simple in his strategy. He is almost a lunatic in the sense of how far he is willing to go to just annihilate his opponents. He's a heavy hitter, straight to the point. He's ready to throw hands. Chris Jericho, who's been doing this for as long as he has been, Jericho has evolved at every stage of his career. Chris Jericho took the camera just to send a bird for Jon Moxley and took a sign from a fan. Okay, and now has the guardrail. Talk about really picking this thing up. Jericho wanting to get this thing all down and dirty. Oh, but Moxley just fights off the ledge and going right after Jericho. Jericho midsection first hits the ramp. The side of it, that being. Moxley with a nasty form and another one laying in these elbows in deep. Now just comes in with a headshot. That headbutt, just nasty. Double axe handle off the stage. Gets Jericho went down to both knees. It seemed that I thought for a split second when Jericho was still up on his feet and Moxley was down for a split second that Jericho may have countered, but that does not seem to be the case. Oh my God! Biting at the stitches of Jericho, where Moxley had initially caused the damage over the eye. Moxley was trying to repay the favor, and it only led to stitches. Moxley's the one who's gotten the worst. The thing for Moxley is he needs to get this back in the ring. This match can only end via pinfall or submission inside the ring. There's also the other factor of this match being Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz being on the outside of the ring. The longer this match goes on, the odds increase of their roles being, extremely involved in this matchup. But how and when? Jericho, who for 30 years has always had a plan, has always been a man with a plan, and tonight is going to seem to be no different. Jericho going right after the side where Moxley has the bad eye covered. No, he's going to send him through the timekeeper's table on top of the bell. Talk about getting your bell rung. The back of Moxley's head. Blood is just pouring down the eye of Moxley. The back of Moxley's head. I don't know how Moxley isn't knocked out completely. I mean, Moxley is somehow able to open up his eye. Well, at least the good one, that being. I don't know how he's even anywhere near conscious. Moxley is legitimately a different kind of animal. The fact that he is still going after that. Dr. Sampson is right there to keep an eye on this very closely. See what I did there? Because Jericho hurt Jon Moxley's eye. Anyways, with that being said, Moxley finally gets back in the ring, but that leaves slim pickings and easy pickings, should I say, for Jericho. Oh, quite the words from Le Champion. Jericho off the middle turnbuckle. Double axe handle on the back of the head. Now just on top of Moxley with highly calculated shots to the head of his challenger. Dusting off his hands like it's easy work. Jericho ringing the bell as if he's already won this thing. How? And then just announcing his name as if he's already won. Has he made a decision way too soon? Is there an oversight from Le Champion? Moxley doesn't look fully there, though. I will say, while Moxley's still going, how much of it is just straight up adrenaline at this point? I've been there. I've seen it. What a concussion can do to a man. What it does to the brain. You're out of it. It's like you're in a different world. But you kind of know where you are. In this situation, you feed off the adrenaline and you're just staying. Kind of just to stay. Jericho playing mind games with Moxley as he talks trash. However, Moxley infuriated and fights back. Where does Moxley get it? Moxley finding it something back. I don't know what you want to call it. Adrenaline, an extra wind, whatever you want to call it. Moxley found it at least for a little bit until Jericho countered and Moxley just went chest first hard into the turnbuckles. Jericho pulling up Moxley and sending him to the outside, dumping him to the floor. Jericho distracted. I mentioned this. Oh, come on. You just had to know Santana taking a cheap shot at Moxley while Jericho distracting referee Aubrey Edwards. It was pretty clear as day when Proud and Powerful were out at ringside exactly what was going to happen. Jericho always has a plan. Jon Moxley sends a shot back for Jericho, though. Mox finding a way to fight back, but Jericho counters and sends Moxley hard into the steel steps. A rough landing for the challenger. The steel steps not doing any wonders for Jon Moxley, but doing an absolute whirlwind for Chris Jericho, who is getting the job done at this point over Jon Moxley, who is just laid out, trying some way to pull himself back up. This might as well be a 3-on-1 match. Moxley able to slide himself back into the ring. Now with Jericho bringing the attack. Oh, what a rough landing. The midsection of Jericho slides through. And a kick to the side of the head of Moxley goes for a cover. And only enough for 2 as Moxley sticks with it. Moxley is as tough as they get. What a thunderous chop by Chris Jericho. Despite the current condition that Moxley is in, especially after that landing you saw earlier when Jericho powerbombed Moxley onto the timekeeper's table and Moxley, the back of Moxley's head hit the bell and got his bell rung. Moxley is doing a good job at staying with it, fighting back when necessary. But the question is Moxley just holding on? Is he just kind of holding on to borrowed time? This is the danger zone. This is where you take all the risk and look for all the glory. Jericho trying for a superplex on Jon Moxley. Moxley counters and Jericho flat hits the mat. Jericho doesn't realize it. Moxley turns around and a clothesline lays out Jericho. A massive opportunity for Jon Moxley. Blood covering the eye of Moxley, just pouring down the right side of his face. The eye patch covered in blood. Well, it's hard to tell being that the eye patch is black, but there is a shiny factor to it. Moxley bringing it to Jericho right now. And a clothesline in the corner. Second one. Just hammering and stomping away. Referee Aubrey Edwards trying to stop Moxley from going completely unhinged and getting himself disqualified. Jericho, luckily, he was where he needed to be for a rope break. Back elbow by Moxley. Moxley looks to follow it up. Counter. Uh-oh. Moxley went for a drop kick. Jericho was thinking walls of Jericho. Moxley's got a heel hook. He's got a heel hook. But Jericho, a veteran, realizing just how close he was to the bottom rope. Moxley looking to take flight here. And a suicide dive takes out Jericho out on the floor from behind. Jericho at his back turned on Moxley. Moxley took flight, took a chance, and laid out Le Champion. Moxley quickly gets Jericho back in the ring and gets in the face of Santana. Oh, and a nice head ringer. Jericho thought he was going to counter. And a boot to the side of the head, running at Jericho, hooks the far leg. Will it be enough? Jericho, that's got to be one of the first pinfalls of this matchup. There haven't been too many pinfall attempts in this AEW World Title matchup. Realizing just how much it's going to take. Oh, come on. These stooges, Santana and Ortiz. Here's Ortiz. The Mad Ball hit Moxley. And a Lion Salt to follow up. Picture perfect. Jericho hooks the leg to put away Moxley. But Moxley just won't stay down. It's not going to be that easy for Chris Jericho. Again, Chris Jericho trying to pound away at the eye. Taking the blood of his enemy and rubbing it on his face as a battle. Basically a battle scar. could become a bloodbath between these two. Moxley, it seemed that Moxley was exploding out of the corner for a burst of energy, but Jericho got the best of that exchange. Jericho measuring up Moxley. Looking for a code breaker. Moxley countered. Jericho counters. Jericho looking for the walls. Jericho looking for the walls. Moxley rolls through, escapes. Moxley goes for a single leg takedown. Perhaps Moxley now looking to go after Jericho this time. And has a Boston Crab, a variation of Chris Jericho's Walls of Jericho. Jericho, the best thing Jericho can do is stay on his forearms to alleviate the pressure. Keep himself up high so that Moxley isn't forcing all the pressure down on the lower back. And now Moxley sits back. Jericho may be left with no choice but to tap out. The Boston Crab is deep. Oh, come on. There's Jake Hager. Talk about the Inner Circle versus Jon Moxley. And a code breaker from Chris Jericho takes down Jon Moxley. Everybody but Guevara is out here from the Inner Circle. Hager, the muscle of the group. And there's the Walls of Jericho. All the weight is down on the lower back. It was planned the whole time. Moxley is in deep trouble as he tries to scratch and claw and pull himself up. Can he find a way? But all the pressure is on his lower back at the hands of Chris Jericho. All the weight. Dangerous. Deep trouble. Jon Moxley is going to have to really push through. It is not going to be easy. It's going to feel like a light years away as Jon Moxley struggles. Meanwhile, members of the Inner Circle, proud and powerful, telling Moxley to give up. And somehow, some way, Jon Moxley able to find his way to the bottom rope, forcing the rope break. Don't you dare put your hands on the referee. That is not wise. Yeah, Jericho may have been thinking about getting himself disqualified there. And in that case, Jericho would leave as world champion still. Moxley would be the winner, but Jericho leaves as champion. And explodes off the ropes. Moxley with a clothesline. Hager looking to get a cheap shot, and he does. I think Aubrey Edwards may have just seen it. Goodbye. Thanks for coming. They're all out of here. Inner Circle is gone, and they can get out of here. Aubrey Edwards has had enough of this. Inner Circle has officially been ejected from ringside, and now Moxley may just have himself a fair shot. Oh, come on, but that's the last piece of the puzzle as Guevara just exploding that AEW World Championship, clocking into the face of Jon Moxley. It was all a game. Aubrey Edwards checking on the eye of Moxley. Sammy was always there in the back pocket. Sammy was the final piece of the puzzle. And that is easy as over. Oh, wait just a minute. Jon Moxley. No. Jon Moxley is not done yet. Moxley bleeding from the nose, the eye. Oh my God. Just saw more blood coming out. That's the wound from earlier. Jon Moxley, if he's ever going to find a way, now is the time to do so. All factors of the Inner Circle have been played. Now it's a matter of how does Jon Moxley pull the rabbit out of the black hat? Because he's going to have that last trick up his sleeve if he's going to pull something out. Moxley all bloodied up, potential concussion, may just be on adrenaline. Moxley fighting back, telling Jericho to bring it. Moxley has a fighting spirit like no other, looking for a paradigm shift. Jericho raking the bad eye of Moxley. And a boot to the chin. Oh my God. Jericho mocking Moxley in his one eye. Just taunting his challenger. Saying a blind you know what. Jon Moxley tried to throw a shot but can't see anything. Jericho got it right and he got all of it. And driving the knee into Moxley. Jericho heading up. Jericho looking to pull down the knee pad for extra damage to the eye of Moxley. Oh! At some point, the referee's got to think about Moxley's health. No. The Judas effect would certainly be the end of Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley trying to somehow find a way to fight through and hype himself up. But if the final blow connects, it's all over. Jon Moxley blocks and ducks again. Paradigm shift. Paradigm shift from Jon Moxley. What is Moxley doing? The mind games. It was all a ruse. I think, wow, Moxley just fooled the world, fooled the inner circle, and most importantly, fooled Chris Jericho. Point the gun. There comes the bullet in the form of a paradigm shift and a hook of the leg and a brand new AEW World Champion.